Hello. Today I'd like to speak about the continuation of the basic fundamentals of understanding how the world works and how God runs the world. So we're going to speak today. We spoke about in a very long video about fractals, and we see the different dualities of things. So basically the world is based on this number 2, and also the synthesis of the two opposites to make everything go up to become one. Like we explained in the third Keystone lecture, that's the idea of Gilu Yichud. God, part of God's plan, well, the focal point of God's plan is to show that even though there's something which theoretically can be against him, at the end, either through our work, through us bringing God through our free will into the world, we show that there's no other power except God, or it happens through other methods, which either through the second method is through repentance, by retroactively revealing that everything was God's plan, because we couldn't have got to the higher level of repentance without having made the mistake first, so that reveals that the mistake itself was good, or through the suffering in the next life for the things which we didn't correct, which also reveals retroactively that because there's an even higher level of revelation of God's power, that the person who thought that they could rebel against God now realizes that they're in a situation where they want to get out of it and they can't. That brings a new realization that even people who have gone against God the most, they also will reveal that God's power is absolute, right? And like we explained, that the Gemara says in Tractate Sukkah that the righteous and the wicked are in their respective places in Gan Eden, heaven, and the evildoers are in Gehenna, suffering, but yet they're still singing the same praise to God about how righteous and how fair he is. And we said that there is a much bigger, much greater novelty, the fact that the wicked people are praising God even though they are suffering with this immense suffering. If you think about what that suffering is, you'll see even deeper ideas, but we won't get into that now. But the idea of the suffering is distance from God, right? And that reveals that the only real reality is God. And so retroactively, so even the sins they did, which they are now reliving, like we explained in the resurrection video, they're reliving that lack of that choice where they cut God out of their reality and said, no, it's me, I'm more important than God. And then they're now revealing the flip side of either you listen to God, and this reveals God directly through free will, that there's something opposing God. Theoretically, the human who's got free choice, who can rebel against God by choosing not to. That's one way of revealing God. Or by going the other direction and revealing that, when you try to go your own way and separate yourself from God, you're actually killing yourself. You basically, so therefore, by doing that, the sum total of these three people, the righteous, the repenter, and the wicked who's suffering in hell, in Gehenna, all three of them reveal in their own way the different aspects of God's power. Right. So what we're going to speak about now, this is going to relate to the very first Keystone lecture mainly, but also to the third one a bit. We're going to speak about the three primary attributes or ways of acting, paths. I'm not sure we call them middos, attributes, characteristics. They're basically the way that we work is we've got our mind, and when we want to do something, our emotions determine whether we're going to bring out those ideals which we want to do, right? And that's what middos are, characteristics. If a person's got good middos, a person's a kind person. So if he knows, I should really be giving charity to this poor person here, someone with good characteristics, a kind person, so therefore that channel from his mind to his action is clear, it's pure. So therefore, I see someone who needs help, I go and help them. Someone who is a stingy person, or someone who's not a very merciful person, he's going to have much more of a challenge. So when he thinks this person's in trouble now, really someone should help him, but I don't really want to help him. Yeah, come on, I can't really afford it at the moment. Comes up all sorts of excuses because he doesn't have that natural thing called the characteristic, the attribute of kindness to help him just convert and translate his thoughts into actions in the right way. Right, so maybe we'll talk about that in this. Okay, I think we'll actually talk about this aspect in this lecture, and we'll do another one speaking about from God's attributes. So basically, the way that the human being works is there's three primary souls, we call them. There's actually five, it could be more, but basically, there's absolutely the standard way of understanding is there's five souls. But the way we function, practically, we have within us three different souls. Souls mean life forces, or some sort of life force or consciousness. There's four levels of creations, five potentially. You have what's called doimim, tzemech, chai, medaber, and then you've got Yisrael. Each one of them's got an extra soul, more than the previous level, which lets them achieve things or function in a way where the lower level doesn't function. So for our purposes, we're just going to focus on the first three levels. So domain is basically inanimate objects. They do have a spark of holiness within them to keep them in existence, because if God wasn't acting upon a rock or a piece of plastic, it wouldn't be in existence. So it needs some sort of spark of reality to keep it in existence. However, it's not living, it can't grow, it can't have children, doesn't get hungry. Then you have the next level up. You have, after inanimate, you've got somech, which is flora, I think it's called, right? Flowers and trees, anything living which grows, like plants, grass, right? Anything which grows basically from the ground. Now, what's special about this category of species? It's much bigger than species. This category of consciousness, let's call it. They've got something called a NeFeSh. A NeFeSh, that's the lowest of all the souls, and it's the one connected with survival and physicality and just being alive, growing, multiplying. Right, so plants have that. Plants grow. They have a basic sort of a yearning for existing. Right, obviously they grow. They feed. They take the sunlight in, water, earth. They take from the nutrients around them, and they subsume it into themselves to make them actually grow. And obviously they can multiply with the seed, spread with the pollen, get spread out, and it can and the seeds can spread to other places. With trees, the fruits fall down, the seeds go in the ground, however it works. Right, so that's called the NeFeSh. The NeFeSh is the lowest soul, which is the physical soul. Then you have the Ruach. The Ruach is the emotional soul. We'll see how this relates to humans, exactly what's going on in humans. But the emotional soul is one which has basically emotions like anger, love, hate, fear, excitement, happiness, sadness, right? All different types of emotions. Now, this category you find in Chai, which means living, which means what we call living animals. Animals, creatures, insects, birds, fish, anything which moves around. Anything which can move around, which has emotions, anything which can get scared, happy, excited, right? On a certain level, they seem to noticeably do things, whereas plants just exist, they just grow. But animals can actually do things which are much more complex than than plants. So that's called Ruach, that's called the emotional soul. And they have that in addition to the NeFeSh, which is the physical soul. Obviously they're alive, just like plants, but they can also move around, and they have, anyone's got pets, especially pets which you get a bond with. You have the loyalty, like dogs are very loyal. Cats have an aspect of shame. When they excuse themselves, they find a secluded space to go. Right? You look at ants. The Gemara gives the example of different animals. Ants are very industrious. They're always moving. They're very energetic. They're hard workers. Right, etc. Right. So this all comes from emotions, from drive. We spoke about. Remember, we spoke about when Adam was naming the animals. Yeah, we spoke about the lion. The lion is Aryeh, which is the 3 letters of God's name, plus the Reish. And we said that Reish is for Ruach. Ruach, this is what we're talking about now, this emotional soul. And it's the one which gives drive. So the lion's a very driven animal. When it wants something, it gets it, runs around. Okay. Then finally you have the NeShaMA, which is the soul which is unique to human beings. NeShaMA is the intellect, the idea of philosophizing, thinking of abstract thoughts, which I'm sure anyone goes to this, has been watching my videos, you're clearly in that category, otherwise what are you doing here, right? It's the idea that we can think. Obviously animals can think as well, but they only think on a certain level of practicality. How am I going to get food? And it's almost like they function by certain rules. Whereas humans, because we've got free will, animals don't have so much of a free will. Only humans have a true free will. The idea to choose between good and evil. Animals can choose to do something, but it's always going to be driven by their base instincts. Humans can actually overcome their base instincts and actually think of abstract concepts. They can actually be self-destructive because of that. They can actually be altruistic, which you don't have by animals. Even dogs, we hear dogs saving their owners, but that's actually ultimately part of their nature. The nature of dogs is to be loyal. And part of loyal is being self-sacrificing. Right, okay, so where do we see these 3 souls in a human being? So the way that the rabbis speak it out is that they're situated primarily in 3 different parts of the body. So starting from the top, the NeShaMA, the thoughts, the abstract thinking, is in the brain. The brain, or the moyach, the place is the seat of thought. when we go to sleep, we lose that soul. It floats away and goes up to wherever it goes, not getting into that. They have dreams to do with the thoughts and emotions. And we also lose the second soul as well, which is called the Ruach, which is the emotional one. Ruach also means direction. We're going to see what the significance is that. Ruach also means wind. Wind is something which goes from place to place, but it's not very tangible. You see, that's what emotions are. Emotions are very fickle. They change very easily. Yeah. You can see the juxtaposition between a righteous person and a wicked person. One person is ruled by their emotions. That is the wicked person, right? Whereas a righteous person, his mind controls his emotions. We see this in the very first chapter of Psalms. It speaks about the Ashrei Ish, praiseworthy is the man who doesn't go in the way of the evildoers. Right? And he's like a tree who is rooted on water, with a strong source of water with very strong roots. And it gives the fruit out, and the leaves the leaves don't wither. What's that mean? It means the righteous person whose mind is powerful, it controls its emotions, it controls the body, and doesn't let his actions don't get swayed by the fickleness of the emotions. Whereas the Lochein Harashon, not so are the evildoers or the wicked. Kim Ruach. They are like chaff which get blown by the wind. So the wind blows this way, they go this way. The wind blows that way, they go that way. People tell them, you should follow this course now. Okay, I'll get into this course. I say, oh no, this is very important. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that. People who are not grounded in intellect or values, then they pick up whatever values people happen, what the fashion is. Yeah, that's what people who are ruled by their emotions. Our job is, as humans, the one thing we've got above animals is the fact that we've got intellect, abstract thought, and the idea of idealism and concepts. So we have to make sure that these concepts, this aspect of our mind, always beats the emotions. Right. So as we said, when a person dreams, he actually loses the intellectual soul, and he also loses, I believe I'm correct here, he also loses the emotional soul. The emotional soul, the ruach, the emotions, the place with the characteristics. Remember, we spoke about those channels, those pipes, where you want to translate your thoughts into actions. Well, you need to have good middos, good characteristics, good attributes, and those attributes are in the heart. The heart is the place of the emotions, and a person's got good emotions, as we said, he'll find it much easier to translate his thoughts into actions because there's not so much a resistance from the heart. That's the ruach, and that's the one which we have in common with animals. This tells you something else, by the way. If a person doesn't use his intellect, they're literally like an animal. They're no different from an animal. They're just a higher functioning animal. They're an animal with much more skills than a regular animal. A dog can only do certain things. A monkey, even though it's a very advanced type of animal, it can also do only certain limited types of things. A human could do, it's almost limitless what the human intellect can do. Well, obviously it's got some boundary, but the human intellect is incredible. And that if that's used just to satisfy people's emotions, then you've got basically an animal which is very, very dangerous. Because this animal it's not just it's going to give you a bite or it's going to kick you like a donkey or something like that. If there's no control of the emotions in a human, they can end up doing terrible things, completely destructive. They can destroy whole civilizations, as we know in history, what human beings are capable of. Right? And so certainly if they are not in control of their emotions, they don't have that abstract moral compass which the mind tells them, then it can cause trouble. The third aspect, the third soul, is called the NeFeSh. That's the lowest one. That's the one which we have in common with even flowers and plants and trees. That's called the NeFeSh. The NeFeSh is the one where even when we go to sleep, that soul stays in the body, because that's the one which actually keeps us alive. The place where the rabbis say this is primarily situated is in the koved. It's called the liver. The liver is a place which filters the blood in the body, and this is what the verse in Leviticus and Vayikra in Parshas Acharei Mos, where he says Ki Adam hu anofesh, right? Why are you not allowed to eat the blood of an animal? Because that's where the soul is. The life force of a living creature is in the blood. Therefore, we're not allowed to eat the blood. It's like eating the soul. God only says you can only have the physical part. You can't have the spiritual part. So primarily the NeShaMA, the intellectual soul, is in the brain. The emotional soul is in the heart. That's where when a person gets angry or happy, they feel it in the heart, right? Very strange thing, there's no thinking there. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because thinking's here, but feeling is here, and then the physical desires. That desire for a person just to grow and to sustain himself is primarily in the liver, but it spreads out through the whole body in the form of the blood. Okay, so those are the three souls. And our job is basically make sure that the mind is controlling the heart, the emotions, and the emotions therefore filter and bring bring the message of the brain into the body represented by the liver and the blood. Right? And not to do the other way around, because remember, this is where the duality comes into it. You've got the mind, which is the spiritual part, the intellect, the spiritual part. Then you've got the physical, the body wants to fight against it. The soul, the NeShaMA, the intellect wants to be creative, wants to be similar to God by doing actions. The body is saying, I want to have something to eat, or other physical needs which I have. So there's a fight between them. Now, who wins? You can't have the intellect going this way and the body going the other way, because then the body would be completely stuck. It wouldn't be able to function properly, because you always need your thoughts to get you to do something. Right? And unless the thoughts completely go away and then the person's just going on sort of like an autopilot, which is not good. So what actually gives us the choice? Where do we choose? We choose in the heart. So what is the heart doing? The heart is where, if you ask a person, where are you? Yeah, point to yourself. You point to the heart. The heart is a place where we feel, where we experience our autonomous self. So it's almost like the mind is above us. Okay? So we choose with our hearts. Right, and the rabbis speak about the good inclination, the good urge, and the evil inclination being two halves of the heart, the right and the left part of the heart. That's the Yetzer Tov and the Yetzer Hara. That's what we call it usually, the good inclination, the bad inclination. So it's also connected with the kidneys, but we won't go into that as well. But basically the idea is, the mind wants to do one thing, the body wants to do something else. The filter and the place where you choose, are you going to take the light of the mind and force it into the body until the body listens, and the body says, okay, You win, I'll go along with it. I'll be your vessel to do the mitzvahs, to do the commandments. Or is it going to, God forbid, be the other way around, where the body says, no, I really want to eat this, yeah? I know all your intellectual, abstract ideas, you want to be similar to God. I don't care. I want this thing now, because the body speaks. The body says, I want to eat this thing, which I know I shouldn't eat, or other physical pulls which the body may have, which are not correct. So the body is trying to pull the ruach, the emotions, and the NeShaMA, the intellect, down, trying to pull them down, do what I want. And if it succeeds, this is what happens. I want to eat this. Let's say he wants to eat something not kosher. Okay? So the body's saying, I really want to eat this, right? The mind's very quiet voice in the back of your mind. That's always, the Yetzer Tov is always the quiet one, right? No, you shouldn't do it. We have to be similar to God. We have to do the right thing. Being the commandments is the way to achieve that. The emotions are saying, well, I don't know what to do. If a person's got good character traits, he's got good emotions, right? And he's saying, look, let's in this example, loyalty. Let's say a person's got or gratitude. Look, but God gave me everything, and He just wants me to resist not eating this non-kosher food. Okay, I'll do it. So what exactly happens there is that the mind gives the information to the emotions. The emotions say, okay, let's go along with that. I feel this is the right thing to do. Not only do I know it, but I feel it now. And I feel it so strongly that I'm actually going to carry it out and resist temptation. And then the body listens. And then the emotions, which are closer to the body, that's the bridge between the mind and the body, is the emotions that actually can actually directly act upon the body and drag the body up to the level to act in accordance with the mind. However, it can happen the other way around. Let's say a person's got bad character traits, or he's got good character traits, but he slipped up. Because remember, we've got free will at the end of the day, so even good people can mess up and bad people can do good. It's not predetermined from our point of view, like we explained in the video about free will. So the body's saying, I really want to have this. Then what happens now? Who's in charge? Is it the mind or the body? In this situation, the body is going to be in charge. So what's going to happen? The emotions say, right, the body says, I've got an urge. I want to eat this non-kosher thing. The emotions follow suit. They said, yeah, okay, yeah. Right, okay, I'm going along with that. Let's actually do it, and let's actually act upon that. And that translates to the mind. The mind starts thinking. The mind follows suit. Say, "Oh, you really want that? Oh, maybe it's the right thing to do." That's where people rationalize things. The emotions, based on the desires of the body, start getting corrupted. They desire, not only do you have like a pull towards physicality, but now the emotions get changed. They become more base, they become less refined. And the emotions want to carry out the will of the body. But how do you do it? So let's get the mind. So the body says to the emotions, come on, let's get the intellect involved. And then they take the intellect and they drag the holy intellect down with them and get the mind to think, okay, so how can we actually achieve this this sin of eating the non-kosher food? How can we do it? Well, let's think. I've got a great idea, and then the intellect starts joining the party. Yeah, it starts actually helping them out. That's how it shouldn't be. If a person doesn't have an intellectual, abstract, very strong reason to do the right thing, he doesn't have conviction, the emotions and the body are always going to win, right? You can say, no, Imagine like a person's trying to go on a diet. That's a very good example, right? Or someone trying to stop smoking. Let's stick with the diet one. Person's trying to lose weight, right? Right? I really want to lose weight because why? Because everyone makes fun of me. So what's their driving force that they want to lose weight? It's an emotional driving force. Okay, right? So they really desire to lose weight because they don't like this embarrassment. On the other hand, the body's saying, but I want the food. Who wins? So almost always the body's going to win in this situation. If you don't have a clear, abstract awareness, which you've internalized strongly, that why you want to lose weight, or you want to go on this diet, it's not going to work. However, the clearer the mind is in why it wants to do what it wants to do, I need to go on a diet because I know that I've got to be similar to God. I've got to, whatever, I'm speaking abstract here, but it could be any reason. Okay? I know it's not good there. The doctor said it's not healthy. Basically, there's going to be this or that disease in a few months if I don't do something about it now. So that shocks the person's mind into focusing and being totally aware of the issue at hand. And then he's always got this spring of knowledge or awareness which he can draw upon whenever the emotions of the body tell him to do differently. So what's going to happen is the body's going to say, I want to eat this food, right, and break the diet. The emotions are going to say, well, okay, yeah, I feel like I want to. But then the mind comes in. The mind says, no, we know intellectually, abstract, ideologically, this is what we should be doing. We should not be eating this food, right? And I feel it. And the strength of we talk about the bridge. Remember we spoke about the duality? Now we speak about the duality between the mind and the emotions now. There's actually a bridge between them. It's called the da'as, which is the base of the spinal cord, which is where you internalize your thoughts and you convert them into emotions. That's how you change as a person. We might speak about that another time. It's a very fundamental idea of becoming a better person, changing your characteristics. The way you do it is you have to know objectively what the right thing to do is, but then you say, okay, very nice, okay, let's go on with the next thing. No, don't do that. Think about it. It's real. Act upon this. This thought you have, get it crystal clear in your mind, and realize this is an imperative. And there's no way you are going to let any emotions or body get in the way of what you want to do. So you take the mind, so now you've translated your theoretical mind into a sort of a practical mind, right? You take the right and left brain, you bring it to the back of the head, with the spinal cord that's where the connection between the brain and the body, and that travels down and it comes in to the body, and that starts pushing down on the emotions. It batters the emotions. What, you really want to just eat and you just want to be lazy? No, you've got to do this. Get excited. Get excited about doing the right thing. Don't just do it because, yeah, okay, it's the right thing. No, get excited about it. Be enthused. Be energized. And then the emotions say, all right, yeah, okay, I'll get excited about doing the right thing. And then, because of that immense power which is just brought in, now the Ruach, the emotional soul, is like a pipe, a channel, where now it's imagine you had a blocked pipe, right? So what you have to do sometimes, you have to push something in, put a stick in or something, and push it really hard till it unblocks the pipe, right? That's what we're doing here. Our thoughts are getting so large and so powerful that we internalize them, and they power through our emotions. Our emotions actually become like the interaction between the soul and the body. The body does what the soul wants in the ideal situation. Here, the emotions do what the soul wants. Now you have a unity between the mind and the soul, the mind and the emotions. The emotions then say, I'm excited to do the right thing now. And then they go and say, okay, body, time to choose. I'm choosing the right thing now. So the choosing happens in the heart, but the choice is, am I going to let myself be influenced by the mind? And it sends messages to the mind, keep thinking, I'm too weak, force me to do it. Force me to do the right thing. And the mind says, right, okay, that's what your free will wants? Okay, I'll try. But obviously the body's going to be interfering as well and telling the emotions not to do that and give a fake message to the mind and say, actually, don't think about it too much because I feel so bad for the body. It really wants to have this piece of food. That's how all these three souls interact with each other. It's very dynamic. But the ideal way it should work is that the choice coming from the heart, hopefully from a good characteristic. If a person's completely corrupt, it's very hard to choose the right thing, right? But most people have got a balance at least. That sends a message to the mind, help me choose. The mind gives the information and the clarity to change. The emotions change in accordance with the thoughts. They want something new now. And then they go and control the body, and the body follows what the emotions are forcing it to do. And now you've got that duality again. Now you've got the emotions and the body, or the physical soul, right? And hopefully when that all comes together, so you have a unity. Remember, unity is very important. Remember, we've got to become givers to the body, become one with the body, because the body now does what the soul wants. Now we're going to be similar to God. So by doing this, by our minds overcoming our emotions, and then in turn our emotions with the mind controls the body, and the body ends up doing the right thing, that is the perfect structure of how we should do things. And of course it works the other way around. The body can say, the emotions can choose, well, I'm in two minds whether to do the right thing or not, but I really feel that I would really enjoy myself if I listen to the body here. So body, what do you have to say? So the choice is evil now. I want to listen to the body. Of course, a person could be split. You could say, I want to listen to the mind, but the body as well. Oh, I can't choose. And then you have to just focus on the right thing to win the fight. But if not, then the body's going to win. The body's going to say, this thing looks very tasty. Emotions, come on, get excited. I want to do this. I want to eat this. And the emotions say, fine, okay. What's important? What do I feel is right? Enjoying the here and now and not thinking about the future. And then, but the mind's trying to say something else. Everything has to be on board somehow. So what happens is the emotions then corrupt the mind. That's called cognitive dissonance. It's called rationalization. The mind says, well, okay, I suppose, yeah, okay, one piece of cake's not going to make that much difference. And at the end of the day, don't want to drive yourself mad. In the long term, it will be better if I give in this time to have more energy to do it next time. But we all know objectively it's a mistake, it's a trick. But that's how the physical overcomes the emotional, which then overcomes the intellectual. And just to finish off, we know that in the parasha of Bilam, that's in Numbers, Balaam wanted to curse the Jewish people, and he knew there was only one point in the day where God would actually listen to that curse. And the Tosfos, I think, not in Bruchas, it's somewhere else, maybe in Tanis, Avodah Zarah, maybe. I can't remember. If you really want, I can look it up for you. He asked the question, what could Bilam have said in that moment? It literally is a split second he could have cursed, and it would have worked. It's about Exodus, I think, somewhere around 24 or something like that. Probably around there. Right. So what could he have said? So Tosfos says he could have said Kalim. Kalim means destroy them. Okay, very nice. But if you have a look, I think the Vilna-Gaon might point this out. If you look at the word kalim, it's the letters kaf, lamed, mem. Right, so kaf, sort of this shape. I have to go back to front for you. That's a kaf. There's a lamed, which kind of looks like that. And a mem is sort of like this sort of shape. Right. Kaf is the first letter of the word koved, which means liver. Lamed is the first letter of the word leiv, which means heart. And mem is the first letter of the word moach, which means the brain. So Bilam was trying to curse the Jews by saying, kalim, make their physical overcome the emotional, the heart, which then in turn will overpower and be dominant over the mind. And he knows that if the Jewish people sin, that's how they're going to fall. So he was actually trying to curse them into getting them to have this reverse negative way of the interaction of the three souls. The liver over the heart, over the brain. But we know that it says, Hashem miraculously switched the curses to blessings. As we know, every time Bilam tried to curse, he ended up making a blessing. And we have a look at the blessing. He says, the Suras Melech boy, and the trumpeting or the noise of Melech, of the king boy, is in the Jewish people. Right? The word Melech is the reverse order of Kalim. Melech is Moyach, Leiv, Koved. Moyach, the brain, Melech, king. If you want to be a king, you got to get your brain, your Moyach, over your Leiv, and Koved. That's the Chaf. Melech. Right? As opposed to the other way around. And that's how we are meant to choose. That's how we choose, and that's how we can change as people. And as you see here, the very central part of all of this is the emotions, the middos. That is the bridge between two. In fact, that's where the choice takes place. Right? We can either draw from above and push it down, bring the spiritual into the physical, or we can, because we've got free will, it has to be balanced, we could do the exact opposite and bring the physical and use it to corrupt the spiritual and the intellect. So that's basically how we choose. And I think either the Vilna-Gaon or the Rav Chaim Vital, two very, very great rabbis of the last, one of them lived about 300, one lived about 500 years ago. They say that the main work which we have to do in this world is working on our emotions, working on our middos, our character traits. And you understand why now? Because if a person's a kind person, then he'll naturally, when he has that battle between the brain and the body, his brain will say, well, I want to do the right thing. The emotion say, yeah, sure, let's do it. Good. Right? And it doesn't have much of a challenge. Right? If a person wants to resist temptation, there's a certain middah of discipline. Yeah, discipline's also an emotion, right? Restraint, strength. So then, what happens? The mind says, "I don't think we should do this. This is the wrong thing. I've learned all the laws. This is the wrong thing to do objectively, right? And I don't want to get influenced and rationalize it and think maybe it's okay. No, I know what I've got it absolutely clear. The emotions say, yeah, you're right. I'm not influenced by the body. I've got good characteristics. My heart is pure. So therefore, if it's the right thing to do to resist, I'm going along with it. I'm resisting. Body, you're not going to have any say in it. Shh. You don't do anything. Just stay still. Don't do the bad thing. Right, etc. And it works on this on the dozens of different character traits which a person has: patience, love, hate, energy, excitement, happiness, sadness, lightheadedness, seriousness, right? All of these character traits, if you've got them nicely aligned, these are nice channels for the energy of the mind to go and dominate the body. So we've got a new way of looking, but it still fits in with everything we've said until now. A new way of understanding the duality of the soul and the body. It's a bit more complex now, because we've got the third, we've got the bridge in between. So we've got the soul, the body, and we've got the ruach, and that's why it's called the ruach. It's a wind, because it doesn't have its own source of conviction. The mind wants to do the right thing. The body wants to do what's comfortable, or whatever's now. And these are two forces, and they mix in the heart. The heart can only go in one ruach. Remember, the ruach is the name of the soul. Ruach can also mean wind. It can also mean direction, because it says it can either go this direction or it can go that direction. Let's all hope that we can work on ourselves and get our mind in charge of our emotions, and in charge of our body, so everything's going from top down to the bottom, and the way that God hinted to us that we should be. Human beings are different from animals. Our head is above our hearts. That is the message. So God's saying, make sure your head is controlling your emotions, which in turn will make sure you actually do the right thing. Okay, thanks for listening, and we'll hopefully see you in a short time in another lecture. Thank you very much. Bye.